Hello and welcome back to a New Pace podcast. My name is Leslie, your host, where we take time to pause, act, create and empower. And today I have a wonderful guest on the show. He is an award-winning restaurant owner, a channel swimmer, an OnlyFans expert and comedian. And this remarkable man is someone that I had the privilege of meeting a few years ago and haven't seen for a little while, and it's so nice to have him on the show. So welcome, Mark. Mark Barber is in the house. Hello.
Thank you very much. Hello. To be honest, very accurate introduction. I'm not going to lie. Quite impressed there. Not sure I'd go with OnlyFans expert. I definitely, of everything you mentioned, that I would say is my biggest failure. I have achieved many things, from winning awards for restaurants to swimming from Folkestone to Calais. But yeah, I'll be honest, of everything, my OnlyFans was a flop. But I'm working on it. I am working on it. I will get there.
Yeah.
I'll get there.
Yeah. Well, as I said the word expert, I was thinking, actually, that's not what you said, was it? Like, yeah, that's not what you said.
Yeah,
And,
no. It was an attempt. It was an attempt. It was all above board. I don't want people to think that I mean, it's not. I wasn't posting pictures of me in Speedos on my OnlyFans and trying to, generate income from that. It was, well, when we met, there was a comedy event, and a lot of my friends were going, "Oh, I'm sorry, my dog's died, I can't make it," or "Oh, little Timmy's fallen down the stairs, I can't come, but just record it for me, and I'll watch it later." And the problem with that is people were paying money to raise money for cancer charities. We were trying to raise all this, and I didn't think it was fair that people wanted just to record it and see it for free. When people had paid £25 for a ticket, 10 comedians, £2.50 a comedian, it's not that expensive. So I thought, right, brilliant, I know, I'll sign up to OnlyFans, and then anybody that wants to see it I'll upload the video of it onto OnlyFans. They can subscribe to the OnlyFans, £10, and then I can just donate that £10 over to the cancer charities. And it worked for all of £30. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the subscriptions ran dry after that. I tried uploading a couple more, but I never really took off after that. So maybe I need to revert to Speedos. I don't know. What do you think, Leslie? Should I try and do Speedos for cash?
The other day I was thinking about, like, people talk about foot pics and stuff, and sometimes I'll make art using my feet, and then sort of think, is there any sort of way of that? But I think more for me, it's more sort of a rebellion. It's more sort of just being a bit cheeky, really.
I think if you filmed yourself doing the art with your feet, you probably make more money than. I think the fetish one's weird, isn't it? They're like, I don't know what on earth that is about there. But yeah, the men will pay for pictures of feet. I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's just odd. I mean, they all work in like shoe shops and things. They should, if they wanted to. They should probably just work in shoe shops. But yeah, they're cheaper.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because then you see people's feet every day, wouldn't you?
Loads of them.
Yeah.
Of them. See, all us thinking.
Yeah. So that was as a just general introduction, and there's so many different things that sort of go on for you. So how would you introduce yourself generally?
I would introduce myself as Mark, happy-go-lucky, generally living the dream. I'm a married 42-year-old father of two great sons. They're 20 and 13 now, and I've got my I don't call her my favourite child, but she kind of is. She's my Cocker Spaniel, little Vespa. And I live locally. I'm a Leeds born and bred, and I'm not spectacular at anything. I just try really hard to do everything that I do. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing, that when we met, we were doing a comedy event. We were sort of doing some training for that, and part of that is that you get a glimpse of somebody from the outside, and from maybe like the jokes that you're telling and things like that, rather than really seeing what's behind the scenes and what's really going on for you. So yeah, just being able, like, and I would absolutely, for sure, dogs are always the favourite child.
She is. She is. I can't deny it. She is. They don't live
Yeah.
long. You've got to embrace them while they're here, haven't you?
Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to kind of think about today was about thinking about sort of men's mental health and thinking about resilience and thinking about sort of like what those sorts of things are important to you and how maybe some of your challenges might fit in with that. And like in the context of November's, like there's so much in November about sort of men's mental health and like health overall, and it feels relevant to think about that. So I'm going to sort of just check in with you about sort of what does having good mental health mean to you, would you say? Like when you're feeling like, mental health is well, when I talk about that, what comes up?
Mental health. I think the thing is that people, there's such a stigma attached to mental health these days that, some people are really affected by it. Some people just aren't affected by it at all. I think the thing is everybody struggles. People really struggle, and they apply this mental health label onto it. But it's such a broad spectrum. Is it financial? If you're gonna have mental health issues and depression and all that kind of thing, there's generally a root cause.
Yeah, yeah.
Certainly for around men that tend to be, we get brought up, or certainly I was brought up, that the men, it's quite a binary role. Men tend to provide, protect, and care. And certainly if you can't provide, protect, or care, then you're a failure. You're not a failure at all. That's not how life is. Life's not as simple as that. That's not what you were put on this earth to do. Life is about teamwork. It's about compassion and caring for others. You don't have to be financially successful to be successful. Money isn't it's the root of all evil, but it's definitely not the key to success. I've always said that I'd rather cry on a yacht than cry in a tent, but the amount of stress that comes with that to get the yacht and earn the yacht, it's just not worth it. And I think that people, if you label something, you limit it very quickly. And if you label as being rich as successful, then you're going to be limited on the amount of success you can get in life. It's not that simple. If you can find happiness and find success and find joy in little things, then you're going to be in a much better place to say that you are mentally strong and that your mental health is okay. Try not to overachieve when the odds, certainly the current government and what's going on socially and around the UK, it's a very difficult time to live and breathe and strive to do the things you want, because it's stacked against you at the minute. I'm very lucky to be where I am, but it came with a lot of sacrifice in the last decade of time with family members who are no longer here. People look and they go, "Oh, you're successful. You've got an award-winning restaurant." But what we had to do to get here, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't enjoyable for the most part. And now we're here. It doesn't feel very successful. Doesn't you seem to be working hard for other people. The big winners from my restaurant are HMRC. It's certainly not me, not by any stretch of the imagination. If you write down what I thought owning an award-winning, successful, busy restaurant would look like, if you look at the bank account at the end of the month, it's certainly not what I would consider successful. And I think a lot of people would feel down about that, but I have to look at my life and go, yeah, but I have a great life. Like I just do. I've got family around me, friends, teamwork. I've got great staff members, and when you start looking at that as success, then yeah, it definitely helps. You find mental health, or good, strong mental health in other places that a lot of people don't look for, and then when they look for it in the wrong places, they're going to have problems, big time.
Yeah, I really hear that. There's so much pressure that people feel to do things in a certain way, to achieve certain things, to look a certain way, and actually that might not necessarily be fulfilling, or even, you know, just like the satisfaction from that might not last very long, sort of thing. And what you said about some of those sacrifices that you went through to get to where you are now and what that looks like is often the things that are behind the scenes that people don't really see. So that sense of maybe seeing somebody working really hard but then not seeing the really late nights, or not seeing the doubts or the struggles and the sort of perseverance with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not all it's cracked up to be. That's for sure.
Yeah. And that said, I'd imagine that there's been lots of things that through sort of building your business, working in your restaurants, like I've eaten from the restaurant, it was absolutely delicious, that have been fulfilling. So could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, standing on a stage and receiving the award for the UK's best pizza chef, when you're surrounded by the directors and the CEOs of the likes of, you know, the huge mega successful chains, your Pizza Huts, your Domino's, your Pizza Expresses, and, you know, the top brass. And, you know, you're stood there and you are being labelled as the number one pizza chef in the UK. It's a feeling you can't
Wow.
buy. You cannot buy that. No money in the world.
Yes.
You can't get your wallet out. You know, no, that feeling doesn't take Amex. It just doesn't. And that is a massive high. But the journey to get there, not so great. Not going to lie, it was hard. But they're the things. You've got to take the little wins, and when you
Yes.
add them all up, that's what makes the journey bearable almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had that. We've had TripAdvisor awards. We've had, you know, from the restaurant side, and then private life side. You know, I can say that I have swum the English Channel, and that's an amazing, you know, achievement and event. Team of four, so it wasn't just me on my own, but there were four of us. We did a relay. Had I not owned my own restaurant and been my own boss, I don't know if I would have been able to do the training that was needed and, you know, to pull it off. So that you've got to kind of recategorize that into, right, so owning the restaurant enabled me to do that. So, oh look, there's another win. I not even thought about that until now. Well done, me.
Yeah.
But it is like there's loads of these little things that, yeah, over the years they add up and get better and better. And sometimes you've got to step back. You don't even realise, you know, how good these wins are. I think if I just look at the team that we've got, the staff we've got here now as well, you know, what a great bunch of people they are. And that's a win. These people want to work here. They could work anywhere. They're good enough to go anywhere, and, you know, they want to work here. And that's just, it's really fulfilling to know that these people enjoy their jobs, like coming here. And yeah, it's a big old tick in the box of the happy box. Definitely.
So those little wins, like, just chip away and amount to sort of something big. And sometimes I suppose maybe kind of like midlife, perimenopause stuff gets me questioning, what on earth have I been doing in my life? What have I done? And it can be hard to like really remember all the wins. From what you're saying, it sounds like maybe stepping back from it a little bit and then looking down almost like from a satellite position and seeing just how one thing can lead into something else and give you that circumstance so that your choices and the actions that you can take can, you know, be pursued, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that actually we can all do that, can't we? It's easy to sometimes get caught up in the day-to-day sort of dust of life, and then it's easy to get caught up in that without really remembering like the good things and remembering those circumstances.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people need to lower their expectations.
Okay.
In the sense of, we are bombarded left, right and centre with social media. When we were kids, 12, 13, even 15, 16, there was no social media. Your only insight into celebrities and you saw celebrities as successful. So you had Richard Branson, who was a billionaire, and his Virgin Airways and all that. And then you had pop stars and film stars. That was it. You didn't really have any other... Oh, and athletes. Apart from that, you didn't have a yardstick for success. But certainly with the athletes, it's measurable. You can measure an athlete's success. So if you take gold medals or FA Cups or world records, it's a measurable statistic of how successful somebody is. Or if you want to take someone's bank account in the business world, well, you can measure a businessman's success by the size of their bank account. So your Alan Sugars, your Richard Bransons and all that kind of thing. And the problem we've got now is you have people like, oh, bless her, the Hawk Tour girl. She's lovely. I've seen her on the podcast and all that kind of thing. But then she's thrown at you. And she's some girl from the, deep south in America who has got famous from saying the phrase Hawk Tour. Put some spit on that thing. And that catapulted her to success. And the problem is that when you start comparing yourself to these people that have been given a chance encounter on a viral video, all of these kids doing these 6'7" thing at the minute, and you're like, that kid's famous for no reason whatsoever. He's famous for no reason. He didn't know what he was doing. He said it out loud, and now he's famous. So the thing is that if you're going to start basing yourself against these famous people, there's no yardstick for it. Just stop trying. People need to stop trying to rate themselves against all these people who, to be quite frank, are famous for no reason. A lot of the time on the Instagram or anything like that, they're living these fake lives. You don't know how much they're earning or not earning. They've got cars on finance. They've got cars that are rented for the day for photo shoots. And if you're aiming to be that, they're not living the life that they're presenting a lot of the time. And people need to not aim for that fake lifestyle because it's fake for a reason, because it's not achievable. If you want to be an athlete or a businessman, by all means, grade yourself against that. But for the vast majority, 99% of the population, if they're going to rate themselves against this myth of what people look like and act like online, and they're never going to achieve it. Lower your standards from trying to do something that even the successful people are not doing. They're just not doing it. They're not going home in the Lamborghinis that they're photographed outside because, Hertz Rental own that Lamborghini, not the person that sat on the bonnet taking a photo of a bikini. That then gets photoshopped as well. So it's not even an accurate representation of what they look like.
Yeah, and not even mentioning how AI can influence these things as well, and like.
This is AI, Leslie. I'm at home. I'm not even here. This is just AI right now. I couldn't be bothered. So I just ChatGPT did this.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's kind of like multitasking. I like that. Yeah.
I wouldn't like.
So that people. I think sort of like. I don't know how I would have been as a teenager if social media and the internet was around, because I got my first mobile phone after I finished uni. So, and I think emails happened, but then I wasn't really using email. It was quite a novelty thing. I had to go to the library to do it, and then I'd go back a week later, and then I didn't use the library that much because I had an art degree, so we didn't, for context sort of thing. But now it's just normal, isn't it? It's just you're attached to this sort of, the little scary, like, rectangle that goes everywhere with you. And
and it is a box of lies. The little iPhone is a box of lies, because very, very, very rarely do you get a legitimate glimpse of what someone's life is like. Even the drama that you see online isn't real. A lot of the negative stories are either lies or, scripted, to be fair. People will release things just to get in the news. But our access to it is so easy now that, at the end of the day, it's digital and monetized, and people do it to make money. They don't really care about what's going on.
No, because I'd imagine that, generally there will be people that just sort of know that this isn't true, that this is a highlight reel, and yet they'll still see it as a comparative highlight reel, and like our brains don't really know the difference between the truth and what's made up. So if you're seeing
Absolutely.
something, and I
Yeah.
think that's the difference, isn't it? That on some level, part of us could be, well, we know that that person doesn't have that posh car, or they might look like they're really successful, but actually maybe they're really lonely, or all of those sorts of things. But yeah, our brain can't kind of see the difference really sometimes.
Yeah, I think a lot with mental health, and again, I am no expert, but you only have to look at the amount of successful people, or what are considered successful, celebrities, actors, musicians, at the suicide rates and the early death rates among them, and the drug use and the addiction. The lives can't be as rosy as it's made out to be, because if they were, they wouldn't be dying in baths from drug overdoses. They wouldn't be, you know, Matthew Perry suffered with addiction, and
Yeah.
he went early. But you would have thought, logically, you would have thought that anybody as famous as that had all the money and the power to be happy and have a happy life. But obviously, it doesn't bring happiness. It's not guaranteed. And that is, that's absolutely no belittling of addiction or that kind of thing. Addiction is horrendous, but you can't buy your way out of it. But if you've got all that money and all that success, and yet still those things are happening, it just goes to show that these lives that people strive for are not, when you break it down, they're just not what they appear to be at all.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? That actually, and what you said about I'd rather cry in a yacht than in a dinghy, sort of thing. Of
Yeah.
money doesn't buy you happiness, and I sometimes kind of go, oh, actually, well, I'm really grateful for what I've got, and like having that sense of, you know, really pursuing where things from where I am. And then I hear this, money doesn't buy you happiness, and it's usually people that have got money that say that, which I
Yeah.
find quite ironic, really. But which is maybe coming from that point of view of, I think it was, some celebrity, some actor, who is it? Jim Carrey, that was saying something about, it might not be him. I want to give everyone like millions of pounds so that I can finally prove that money doesn't buy happiness. And it's
Yeah.
like, actually, I totally get that.
Yeah.
However, as you said, sometimes when we use that term, struggling with my mental health, and people are talking like that, like it's just maybe internalized, it's a personal thing. And then the reality is that they might be struggling with their finances, or they might be struggling with something else relationally, or whatever it is, confidence, whatever it is, there's something that is outside of them, sort of thing, that's
Yeah.
not about how much money they've got and stuff.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't think mental health is the problem. Mental health is was it the symptom? Yeah, I don't think the mental health causes the problem. I
Yeah,
think it's the other way around. The problem, whatever the problem may be it financial, relationship, like you say, loneliness, that causes the mental health to not be tip
yeah,
top. And I think a lot of people, I see a lot of people now approach it the other way around. I've got mental health issues, ergo I'm depressed. I've got mental health, ergo I'm not in a relationship. And you start to think, well, hang on, I think it's the other way around. And again, I'm no expert on it, but that's what I've seen, is the whole mental health banner has been really taken and rolled out for a lot of problems, and it's awful. We're in a real mess and a real pickle, and I think what it's done as well is it's people that have genuine mental health issues, and have been diagnosed by doctors and psychiatrists. It belittles the absolute horrendousness that they are going through.
yeah,
I've had male friends that have said to me, "Oh, I've got mental health troubles because I've got no money, I can't afford my mortgage this week, blah blah blah." And I'm sat there thinking, no, you've got no money because you made a rather ridiculous decision that I know about that I'm not going to, spread to the world on Leslie's podcast here, but I know that that was the root cause of your problem. If you hadn't have done that, you wouldn't be here, and that wouldn't have caused that. And I think people need to talk more about their problems before it gets to this point of, I'm in this place where now I have mental health issues. I'm thinking about doing X, Y, and Z, and I think people need to face these problems, face it head on. It makes me sound like very unloving and and unsympathetic, but I do have empathy, or it's very difficult because a lot of men don't want to admit they made a mistake either. They would rather. I know a lot of men now will go, I've got mental health, problems with my mental health. And they just won't talk about the reason for it being and the reason for it getting there. That's a big problem that I find with a lot of my friends or people that I know that are suffering in this spectrum of issues.
Yeah, and it being a spectrum, I think, is important to acknowledge, isn't it? That actually it can change from day to day, week to week, hour by hour. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about, the language that we use and the term mental health versus mindset, maybe, and like talking about having a mental health problem or feeling my mental health getting to me today or something like that, or my anxiety, rather than sort of going, well, I'm feeling particularly anxious about this thing that I'm going to be doing because it's so unknown, or I'm worried that I might this, and this, or whatever the problem is. And as you were saying about talking about it as well, I was thinking about a tap and how we have this dripping tap, like drip, 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 drip. And it actually, like, they're the sorts of things that we can catch that drip rather than, and acknowledge those things and go, okay, it's a drip, rather than suddenly see like a pint of water and then you're like, oh, what is this? Or the sink overflooding and needing to get a plumber in, and it just feeling too much, whereas you might have been able to tighten the tap a little bit at the start. Yeah.
Because when problems do pile up, and life is so hard at the minute, these tiny little what should be tiny little problems are not tiny little problems anymore. They really are very difficult to overcome in the current climate of the political landscape of everything. It's an enormous problem. There's no wonder the mental health services are overrun at the minute. They cannot cope. I don't know what they're going to do, but they need to do something. I am utterly blessed to be in the position I am when people talk about mental health and all that. And yeah, I like to think I suffer with the old school mental health. If you look at like going on a school play and you've got nerves and stage fright and butterflies, a lot of the emotions that I equate to the things that I feel. It's that I'm either overwhelmed with stress, or I'm nervous, or I have stage fright, or I'm something of that ilk. Whereas now people say things, and I'm like, they're overstimulated with their anxieties of something, and I'm drawing a blank. I can't even simulate what they're actually talking about, and there's no wonder. A lot of the people, but they're suffering so bad with all these things that it is overwhelming for them, and I'm not surprised that there's all these new terms and new labels for what we used to call, I'm nervous, that people are so overwhelmed these days. It's an awful time to grow up, especially for the younger generation. They're growing up in times that are really quite tough to even start out. Youth unemployment at an all-time high. It's a real the prospect of owning a house, zero. It's a real tough world out there at the minute, and I try and do anything I can to help out. But like I say, I'm no expert, but I will do what I can to help these people out.
Yeah, because it sounds like what you're saying is that these emotions that people are experiencing are appropriate to the situation that they're in.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to feel shy when you're maybe going somewhere. It makes sense to feel nervous about going on a stage when you haven't done that before. or a mixture of nerves and excitement. Whereas we've almost pathologized all these things of somebody being shy and then suddenly they've got an anxiety disorder. Well, we would have maybe named that shyness sort of 30 years ago. And actually, it might have been okay to be introverted rather than, like, there's so many different, and not for it not to need to be categorized, that it will be, sometimes I might be shy, sometimes I might be quiet, sometimes, and I see it a lot, and I notice it online, and I think my algorithm shows me more of that because I'm a therapist, and I see a lot of that anyway. So I've tried to change my algorithm to more sort of fun things. I have a lot of hippos, and I have a lot of sort of things that are nice to look at, sort of thing. But just makes me smile rather than like seeing things that in some ways that I'd like to be able to contribute to the cause, but I have to distance myself from a little bit because certain things that you can't control, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think 3-4 years ago, I was very much of the opinion. What's the best word? I know it's a daft phrase now, but you know the whole man up, when the just man up was a bit of a thing.
Yeah.
And 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, around COVID time, I mean, they just need to man up. But now there's so many more pressures in the world. Actually, man up doesn't cut it anymore. You can't just tell someone to man up anymore. There is no such thing. It's gone. That phrase is, it's a relic. You can't do that now because the problems are so great, and there's so many things out there that are causing people problems. It's not enough to do that now. You need that support, and you need that support network. You need those friends, those family, and a lot of people don't have that now. We're more connected through technology, but more disconnected than ever, I think.
Yes.
And the problem there is that as much as technology has moved on, human nature hasn't. So human nature, as humans, we're wired to look at the negative. So it comes from being hunter-gatherers back in the day, fight or flight. If you're walking through the jungle and you step on, or rather you hear a branch crack, when we were evolving, we didn't go, ooh, I wonder what that was that just made that branch crack. We would turn around and we would assume a tiger and get ready to either fight or flight. And we've kept that, so we'll always look for the negatives. So now, I mean, you see it, you can look, you can hear, every single day you can see this in action. If you say to someone, how are you? How many times does somebody say, I'm not bad?
Yeah.
Or if you say, oh, how's your meal? They'll get, oh yeah, no wrong with that.
Yeah.
Everybody just focuses on the negative and don't really focus on the positive. They just don't, and it's not their fault. They're wired to do it. So it's a really long process to go from being that automatically negative kind of mindset into a positive mindset. And you read about it all the time. Oh, PMA, positive mental attitude and all that. But unless you can, I think your mindset is intrinsically linked to the language that you use. And if you answer the question, if you answer any question with a negative, not bad, nothing wrong with that, there's no wrong today, there's no way on God's earth you are going to be a positive person and able to approach life in a positive way from the get-go if your automatic response is negative. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
It's a juxtaposition. You can't get past it, I don't think. I've never met a positive, negative person yet. It just doesn't happen. Apart from Jack D. He's the only one.
Yeah, because it sounds like maybe their intention is to maybe keep things low key. Is there a British thing about this as well, that maybe not bad, rather than that was really lovely, or that food was delicious, or I'm having a really nice day, rather than it's terrible weather, isn't it? And well, actually it just isn't kind of 30 degrees with the sun blaring down. It's fine. And that kind of the negative, the positive and the negative, say not bad. Our brains still hear bad, don't they? So it's like saying don't run, right, when you might want to instruct somebody to walk, and then that person might only hear the word run, and they go, oh, I'm just gonna, I missed the word don't, but that feels negative as well. But then just going walk, or kind of like whatever it is. But yeah, I think language is really important, and I've been like, yeah, guilty of that as well. Sometimes there's maybe something about wanting to feel seen and validated, as to like feeling a bit grumpy on a day or feeling whatever, and like I know we've talked about this before, but then actually like it makes so much difference if you sharing genuinely how you're feeling rather than holding back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, the other example is when, people open the curtains and it's raining. Now, throughout the entire summer, I spent hours trying to make my lawn ultra green, healthy, weed free. I've spent money on lawn mowers. I've spent money on environmentally friendly weed killers. I've done all this. So I spent absolute hours and hours and hours on lawn care, potting plants, making my garden and my back garden look fabulous. So now, when I open the curtains, we're in winter and it's raining. I think so many people go, oh no, it's raining today. Well, pardon my French, no shit, it's winter. Of course it's going to rain.
Yeah.
I open the curtains and go, yes! All that work I did in summer, and now it's getting wet, and now they're going to be healthy, and it's good, the root system's going to grow. If you open the curtains, and you think that's bad, you're missing the whole point of why it's raining. And it's raining for all the stuff you did in summer. You're going to get fabulous flowers. You're going to get... The rain brings all this fabulous stuff. People don't even go outside. And the morning that it's raining, they spend 90% of the time in the house, no intentions of going outside. They see the rain and they complain. That is not a recipe for success. So you can't be successful if you are in that mindset. I know, and I say whatever your branch of success is, it's just not going to happen unless you can start to, bit by bit, break down where your successes are, where your happiness is, and how to find it in life in general. You have to be able to find it. Have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say about, how do you do that then? What's from your experience, and maybe what do you...
Pen and paper. It's all about self-awareness. So you have to be very self-aware. You can work on self-awareness with diaries, feedback, end of each day, writing things down. So many apps now. Anybody that says I can't do this, just chat GPT.
Yeah.
The app store. There is thousands of ways to increase self-awareness, and you can't say I'm unhappy or I've failed if you'd never tried, because the two just don't work. And if you've tried one thing, I think a big thing with I know in NLP one of the pillars is there's no such thing as failure, only unwanted feedback. I've never failed at anything. I've only got unwanted feedback, and I think that is a massive help. If you believe in NLP and all that kind of thing, it's kind of irrelevant. That actually makes a real lot of sense outside of the context of psychology and what works and Bandler and all those different things that people will argue about on the internet. If you don't see anything as a failure and everything is just a learning experience, that's step one to improving. Because the second you told yourself that you've failed, then you have. And people attach negative things to failure. It's not failure, it's just a learning experience. Just move on. Next. Do you know what I mean? I've lost more awards than I've won, but people only want to talk about the awards that I won.
Yeah.
When people say, oh, you've got an award in a restaurant, yeah, but I've lost more than I've won on that I've entered. I think I've won 3, lost 5. But the 5 weren't losses. The 5 for me, they were just learning experiences, and I don't view them as losses. But if you were to chalk it up 1 and 0, I'm not as successful as I am a loser. I've lost a lot more than I've won, big time. In fact, I think there's a stat about Roger Federer. Roger Federer only won 52% of his points. Yet at the time that stat came out, he was the most successful tennis player of all time. But he only won 52%. So yes, he won more than he lost, but it's only by 2%. And that,
Yeah, yeah,
he was the greatest tennis player of all time at that point.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that was a big thing. Tiger Woods lost. Tiger Woods missed more than he hit on putts or something like that. There's a load of stats when you break them down and you start to go, hang on. These people that are winners that we see as successful, they lose more than they win, but we see them as successful, and that's a huge step.
Yeah.
Certainly with self-awareness, I find is just the more you are aware of that, the easier life becomes. If you live your life never failing, how easy is that? People go, what? You live your fight, you never fail? I've never failed at anything. I might not like the outcome, but I don't fail. I just learn,
Yeah.
and I just do something different next time.
But I suppose it takes a risk, doesn't it, of kind of going, okay, my intention is to fail as much as possible. I think there's a company that does this, that there was I hear all these things. I've no idea where I hear them from sometimes, but it's like there's a chief organizer of failing, chief officer of failing, and it's like, maybe I dreamt it. It might not be real. I might have dreamt it. And then this person was like, set things up so that people can fail, and it's not kind of necessarily making things out of reach, but it's giving people opportunities to try new things and to go and put some effort into doing something, because actually I feel more miserable if I'm not doing anything than if I'd put myself out there and failed at something, if I've not tried to do something. And it's weird, isn't it, how actually we place success on a pedestal rather than the learning that we put towards it, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Success. If you base happiness on success, you very rarely will be happy. Very rarely.
Yeah.
Because success just doesn't happen that often. Out and out, boom, win. It just very, very rare.
Yeah.
Very rarely.
And this feels a really good segue to talk about your challenges, that the athletic challenges, and like the swim and all the bike rides that you've been doing, and you do triathlon as well. And I'm just thinking about all of those with the idea that people will see the tip of the iceberg of the achievement that you've had, whereas they might not see all the hard work that's behind it and all of the joys and the glimmers and the little wins that you've had. So when you look back over the year now to, it was July, wasn't it, when you did the swim, when you were looking back at that experience, what is that like for you to, remembering what comes up the most?
I think what comes up the most is the walking out onto the beach. It was me that I walked out onto the beach in France. They won't let you. Believe it or not, the French are very particular about who land on their beaches, which made everybody laugh at the time, because we're hours into a swim, we're in the middle of the channel, and we just said to the captain, look, can all four of us go on? And obviously there's a bit of I don't know if you've seen the news recently about French and English beaches, but it's a bit of a hot topic, and when he said no, and he literally said the French are very particular about who enters and leaves their beaches. We all had a good laugh, but it did mean that only one person could do it. But the way that it fell on the relay, so you get one person swims, and then the next and next and the next, and you do an hour at a time as fast as you can. And I think for me, there's two moments: getting out on the beach and just kind of sitting down, collecting some shells. I only had 5 minutes to kind of take it all in, and then you have to swim back to the boat. But I think sitting on the boat, going back over, and we were really travelling on the boat, and all four of us were there. We had our little cognac, and it was surreal, because for the first hour going back over on the boat, we were really going. The wash was coming out the back of the boat, and we were motoring, and I thought we were nearly home. And as we're looking out in the distance, and we were absolutely nowhere near Dover, and it just started to dawn on everyone just how far we'd actually swum. And we had been swimming for 16 hours, which is a long time, to be fair. We'd done 34 miles. It was a long old day out. And I think just sitting there, having done it all, that was the moment where everybody just kind of breathed a sigh of relief, but simultaneously kind of looked around and went, "Oh, that's so far. We're in a boat going really fast, and we're absolutely nowhere near home." And it was that moment that really got everyone. Big time.
Yeah. Yeah. In what way? When you say got everyone?
It was that was a moment where it became very real as to what we'd actually achieved. And I think because it is a relay event and you're only doing your hour at the time, and I say only, it's a long time to be swimming as fast as you can in the sea with the tankers and the jellyfish and the seasickness, and there's all these, mental challenges to be kind of getting through, that you're very much aware of what's going on, but you're not aware of the enormity and the grandeur of what the actual, to swim from England to France, it's a really long way. And it was only when we were halfway coming back on the boat going really fast that we thought, we've actually gone a really, really long way there. That is quite the effort. I would imagine it's like doing the London Marathon and then jumping on, those little tuk-tuk bikes where you can jump in the back. It would be like running the London Marathon and then jumping in one of those and then it riding you back around the whole thing that you've just done. And I would imagine you'd start to go, wow, have I really just run all that? That's a long way. And it was it was at that moment where everybody kind of like, got together, and we had a little raised a glass to Mick, who's no longer with us, and he was the reason that we did it. And I think we all breathed a sigh of relief as well. It was kind of like that, we've done it. When I landed on the beach, it was like it was over. We had technically done it, but it didn't feel like it collectively until we were back home nearly. I think the adrenaline had worn off. We all started, we'd eaten, we'd drunk, we started to feel human again at that point, and it was it was a good old day out.
Yeah, a heck of a day out. Because I was looking at
again.
Because I was looking at, you said about how it was you swam effectively like between your 34 miles, and I was looking at the things about English Channel Swim, and it says 21 miles, but realistically 25 to 30 miles. So I were going, okay, well, a length of the big pool is 25 meters. I'd kind of gone, okay, if I were to times that by 64, we're talking nearly 2,000 lengths of the big pool.
Yeah.
Plus more, because there's an extra stuff, and it just feels impossible to comprehend. And I mean, like, I've not been swimming for a while, and I have swam outside. I've swum kind of a little bit in Dover, sort of thing. I've swam in the sea, and I know what it's like. But just the length of that, and I'm curious about like what got you through. What did get you through?
What got me through it is the amount of money that Woodfire Dine spent to do it, to get us there. But then, way more than that was the amount of money we'd raised, so which would dwarf the amount that had been spent already to get it. So we'd raised £6,000.
Wow.
There's some videos online from early on in the day, and early on in the day the boat is it's going like this, and it was awful. I was seasick before getting in, but you can't stop. They're very, very strict on the rules, and you can't go more than 12 foot from the boat. You can't touch the boat. You've got to keep going. You can't really stop for any other reason than a medical incident kind of thing. And so I was as I got into the water, I didn't feel great as it was, but the guys that had already gone, they put a lot of effort in that first little bit to get us off the shore. We had the tides, we had the waves at that point. Current, we were in the flood tide, so it was quite. We ended up doing the extra mileage because the flood tide is really strong. So as it goes up, it just whips you up the coast. Within an hour, we started well, we started between Dover and Folkestone, west of Dover, east of Folkestone. Within that first hour, we'd gone way east of Dover. We were way up. And then after another hour, you're still going. And then after that, it just whips you down way past where you mean to go and want to go. And then as the neap tide it floods back up, you kind of fighting the flow at that point. And it was just, hence the extra mileage. But on that first bit, it was kind of like I had to time being sick between the waves. So I breathe every time on my left hand side. But when there was a wave coming, I had to kind of like hold my breath. And then you're supposed to blow out as your head hits the water. But I had to be sick as my head hit the water, so I'd be like, "Bleh," and then I'd like come back up, breathe, and then be sick again in the water. And like you've got your goggles on. The water is crystal clear, so like you're trying to kind of be sick that way. But we had what's called confused seas. So as the waves were going that way, the wind was going that way. So everything had it was just tossing up, and that's why the boat was giving it this. So like you'd be sick, and then like 10 seconds later, like you'd just get sick floating back past you, and it was. That wasn't easy, but I think because we were in no danger, as unpleasant as it was, it actually became quite funny in the end, because it was just like, it was what kind of absurd situation have I just found myself in? I'm on my first hour. It's not like I can bail after 15 minutes. Physically, I'm fine. Mentally, I'm all right. It's just I'm in this situation that is absolutely disgusting. There's nothing I can do about it. 2 people have already just done it anyway, so it's not like I can claim that, oh, woe is me. The guys are shouting, the captain's absolutely howling from the wheelhouse because he could see how green we were before we got in the water. And yeah, it was laughable. I mean, it was awful, but it was quite laughable at the same time. But as the day started to go on and on and on, and it started to get harder and harder and harder, the jellyfish are horrendous. No one can prepare you for the jellyfish. There was one time I was looking down, and there's about 100 jellyfish, 150 jellyfish. You can see for miles. The water was so clear. But there's jellyfish from like golf ball size right through to these big things with these hairy manes coming off them, and it was just no swimming in any lake or any shoreline can prepare you for that. And it was at that point I started to think, I don't like this, I'm not enjoying this, but there's no way I can give up now.
Yeah,
we're halfway through. I'm not turning back after. Well, at what point I thought was 11 miles in. It turns out it was 11 miles between, but actually we'd done like 17 because we'd done this big loop to get there. And it was just, I couldn't let people down. I didn't want to let people down. I wasn't in any physical danger. It's not like I was going to drown or disappear. I was tired but not exhausted. You know, the pain was very much mental, not physical at that point. But when you've got such a strong team shouting and cheering you on and giving you, all the encouragement in the world, it became more difficult to give up than it did to carry on. Carrying on was way easier to carry on than it was to give up at that point. I would have needed more mental strength to say no, let's go home. That I'd have let everyone down, and that was a real asset to be in that position. A real pleasure, an honour to be in that position, to be honest, to be doing something like that and fearing giving up. It was a phenomenal position to be in.
Yeah, that just sounds incredible. Just hearing that and just thinking about, if I'd have been asking you the same question, had you stopped halfway through, what that might have felt like. And I wonder, some of those sorts of things have got me through stuff of going, I don't think I could look back and go, oh, I didn't bother trying to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the thing is because we were a 4-man relay, it takes the physical endurance out of it so much more than if you are a solo swimmer trying to swim that length. I think the thing is, you give it a good go, you swim as far as you can, the odds are against you. You know, more people have climbed Everest than swum the Channel. So what you're trying to do is just absolutely out of this world. I think when you are in that relay team and you're in that water, it's almost like there's four of you in the water at the same time. You're not. You're on your own.
Yeah.
There's just you in there. But I can't imagine what it would have felt like to give up for no apparent reason other than you were just scared of. And I don't know what there's to be scared. Well, I was terrified. I don't like deep water. I hate swimming. And my biggest fear in life is probably getting eaten by a great white shark. And I know there's no great white sharks. I know there's no sharks in the English Channel. There's just none there. But when you're swimming away and you just see a grey fin in front of you, there's a little bit, you know it's a dolphin. It's a dolphin. You can't get away from the fact you know it's a dolphin. They're reasonably common. But as you're swimming and looking at this fin, you just think that's obviously a great white shark. Because you focus on the negatives.
Yeah.
So you know damn well it's a dolphin, but you just can't get it out of your head at the same time. That'd be the only reason, really, you'd even entertain finishing early. It would be that mental anguish of, I think that, or if we'd have been in a position where we didn't think we were going to get over, the tide had turned too much, if we were physically going backwards, which does happen, has happened to swimmers in the past, where they've just not had the energy at the end of the swim to get onto this last section and past that tide. I can see that being okay, because you can't. I think you've got to respect the power of the ocean so much stronger than I gave it credit for. I didn't think it moved that much, as daft as it sounds. My God, it is incredible. And you can't fight it. You're not beating it. You are at the mercy of the power of that sea and that tide. And I think, just to stop and not get over, when realistically it was just fear. It would have been fear, and it would have been irrational fear as well, because you know there's nothing there that can get you. I think that would have been heartbreaking. If one of the others had have said, no, I can't go on, you'd have to respect them as well. You do what you could to convince them to carry on, but I think that would have been heartbreaking. And I think everyone knew that as well. So actually, it was kind of a vicious cycle of success, where everybody knew they had to do it because they couldn't let the other three down.
Yeah.
So it was a great, and that's the power of teamwork. That's the positivity of teamwork. We never even said it, but we all knew it. We didn't have to say it. The team would all train together. We'd all, we had a little WhatsApp group chat. We were all communicating, and it was a great day to be out there with those guys.
Because what I'm hearing is that if any of you had got to the point of saying, actually, that's enough, that it wouldn't have been something that anyone would say lightly. It would have been that they've gone through so much and they've sort of battled with it to actually get to that point.
Yeah, I think for the team that were there, and I think for the personalities and for the endurance thing that they've done before, I was probably the weakest one there as an overall package. And I think what would have probably happened is the captain would have called it. The captain would have had to say, he's calling off the swim. He had the power to do it. It's part of the rules and regulations. Is he can jump in and say, right, I'm calling it for safety reasons, swimmer safety, exhaustion, all that. I think all four of us would have just swum, who knows?
Yeah.
We would have just carried on until we'd literally been fished out by our speedos. There'd have been a ball in there under the back and flicked back on the boat like a little haddock.
Bless.
Yeah, which I never thought. I've never really been in that position before. I've never done anything with a team like that where I found myself in that position. I've done things on my own where, if I stop, I just let myself down. We don't fail. We just try again next time or do something different. But this time, this was a different situation to be in. And that was very good for my self-awareness because I didn't realise that I had that in me. I didn't. And we did. And there was one time when I was about a mile offshore and it's pitch black and there's a spotlight on you and all these jellyfish that you saw in the day and you could kind of manoeuvre around, that had gone, and the spotlight was about 18 inches in front of your face. So as you're swimming and the spotlight's there, the jellyfish had just come into view right in front of your face. And that was horrendous. But at that point, we're a mile from shore. So that was just... I shut my eyes at that point. I just shut my eyes and started swimming, and if I felt anything on my face, I just prayed that it didn't sting.
Yeah.
And that was... Yeah, that was awful. That was really nasty. It was just like swimming through a bunch of nettles, if I could. Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
You should definitely do it though, Leslie. You should definitely do a relay channel swim.
Yeah, because I'm not going to say yes to that, but like never say never sort of thing. Yeah, I do like my challenges, and I feel as this is the reason why I kind of chose to do the comedy challenge was because at the time physically I couldn't, I was struggling with like sort of health stuff and didn't have that much fitness, so it was wanting to do a challenge. But typically, like doing all of those sorts of things, yeah, I get a buzz from that, and that difference of having the teamwork sounds just incredible.
I think the thing about what we did is a lot of people do channel swims. It's quite, I say it's popular. It's more popular than it ever has been. But there's companies that do it. So there is Aspire do a lot of relay swims, and there's a group called Swim Taker, and they do charity swims. They've got like contracts with the boats and all that kind of thing, and they do it as a 6-man relay. So realistically, you're going to be in the water once, 2 or 3 times. Most people will only be in 2 times, because everyone's fresh. There's 6 of you, and it's not guaranteed you're going to get over. You've got all these things going on, like the tides and the jellies and all that. But I would absolutely, anybody that's physically fit-ish, and when I say fit-ish, I think if you can do a 10k run without stopping, and it doesn't matter over how long, if that takes you 2 hours, I would say you can definitely do a channel swim as a relay. The problem we had is we had a lot of people, of the original team, we had 3 people drop out at the last minute. So actually we dropped down to a 4, and of those 4, we because we were self-funded, self-organised, self-arranged and self-managed, ours was quite tough. So we were in for 4 times each, which is twice the amount. Even though there's only 2 less people, the rotation comes around a lot quicker.
Yeah, of course.
And ours was a bit harder in that sense. But I absolutely, anybody that is, you don't even need to run 10k. If you can walk 10k, is probably about the level of fitness you need, because you can train for a year, you can swim. And let's face it, swimming is just lying down. It's just lying down. You lie down for an hour, you move your arms, and you get across. I would absolutely recommend it to anyone. I think anyone that likes a challenge should definitely sign up for a channel swim.
Then.
It's a challenge you can do on your back, on your stomach.
Yeah. It's just lying down for an hour. Easy peasy.
It's not hard.
Yeah. So, Mark, you were saying about how, you're talking about the fundraising and how important that was. And I kind of thought, my brain went, I done it, didn't I? Did I? Oh. Anyway, but could you tell everyone a bit about the charities? There's like sort of mental health charities.
2 charities. We ran the swim. The swim ran in conjunction with the tour. So that's the Tour de Aki, set up in memory of my friend Mick Aki Atkinson, whose nickname was Big Aki back in the day. He lost his battle to mental health in 2018. He was, it sounds so uncouth and so unsympathetic, but he ended his life before it was popular. A lot of people are doing it now. But Mick was, he was a pioneer in that sense. But he was the classic, absolute classic. No one knew. No one had the foggiest. I firmly believe or think maybe if Andy's Man Club and that kind of support would have been around in 2018, I think Mick would have still been here now. So one of the charities we did it for was Andy's Man Club. It's who Pierre, who arranges the tour, he chose that as a charity as well for the tour de Raki that he does. We've completely piggybacked his tour. I can't take any credit for the swim, really. It's all Pierre. If it hadn't been for Pierre, the swim would never have happened. So big shout out to Pierre. And he was raising as well. Mick used to raise a lot of money for Yorkshire Air Ambulance. So Pierre's done the tour. So we just basically piggybacked on his fundraising for Andy's Man Club on Yorkshire Air Ambulance. There is a GoFundMe. I think it's still live. In fact, it is still live. It's gofundme.com/swimdeaki25, I think. I should have brought a little thing, shouldn't I? Should have brought a little.
Hold it up.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
We can put the link in the description of this.
Fab.
So that'll be useful. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And as you say, there's those sorts of things that you don't realise that how important they are until you've lost somebody really that might have benefited from it, and all of those sorts of personal experiences for you. And he sounds like a top guy. He sounds great. Sounds amazing. And I'd imagine I've seen like the pictures where it's like you've got the boat and the swimming, and then he's there along with you, and it feels really touching. And I never met him, so I'd imagine it's huge for you guys.
Yeah, he was larger than life. Literally, he was larger than life. Old Big Aki. And he sounds daft, but he was the happiest guy. Like, he was the loudest, happiest, most entertaining person in public. And realistically, no one knew what he was going through. No one had a clue. I know that two of the swimmers work with him, I've had personal interactions with him. One was his best friend on shift. So it was a real personal effort. And I think that's the other thing, when you were saying about, how would it have been if you had quit? We would have had to pull them out of the water. There's no way that they would have quit, because actually they weren't swimming. They weren't swimming for me. They weren't swimming for the swim to Aki. They were swimming purely for Mick. They weren't swimming for an event. They weren't swimming for any personal achievement. They were swimming to raise money, because we all remember being stood at his funeral and in disbelief. No one could believe that he'd decided the best course of action was to take his own life. I mean, the problem is, by the method he chose, you've got about 5 seconds to change your mind before you lose consciousness, and it's a mistake you can't come back from. And if I only had 5 seconds to change my mind about some of my mistakes, I'd be in a very different position right now. Oh, I've made some mistakes in my life.
Yeah.
And that, I got some unwanted feedback from, shall we say. But if I'd have only had 5 seconds and then never been able to make another decision ever again, I'd be in a real bad place. And unfortunately, that's the decision he made. And I think, if he was around, I think if you asked him, he wouldn't make that decision again. But here we are, he's not around, and we would have had to drag those people out of that sea, because they don't want anyone to go through that. It's just horrendous. And so, your Andy's Man Club, it was a huge, or should have been a huge part of when Mick was around. It wasn't. If he had been, I think it would have been very, very different indeed.
Yeah. And that could be hard to sort of sit with sometimes, can't it? Well, all the time, I'd imagine. Times when you may be learning from him, or like in that sort of grieving process. There's no time on it. I never expect anyone to have any sort of timing of that. But that idea of that unknown, not really knowing what was going on for him particularly.
Yeah.
But it sounds tough.
Very sad.
Yeah, this is the thing, and I suppose there may be people sort of listening, or that have sort of experienced some of these things, or going through some tough times at the moment. And what I'm hearing from you is about just like doing those small things and reaching out to people, and like don't wait until it's huge, sort of thing. But is there more that you would add to that?
I think people. I think Andy's Man Club, it's okay to not to be okay, is a great strap line, and they're not wrong. Absolutely, it is okay to not be okay. In fact, to be quite frank, it's more normal. It's expected to not be okay at the minute in this world, because it's a tough world and a tough time to navigate through financially, emotionally, relationship wise. It's very difficult, and you've got all the political stuff firing off left, right. You get called everything, no matter what what your own thoughts are, and everyone's labelled as something these days, be it far left, far right, far middle. I'm sure we're going to get next at some point.
Yeah.
But it is hard, and just being able to turn problems into bite-sized chunks. I kind of expect people not to be okay now. I'm not okay. I've got all sorts of problems going on, but you've just got to break these down, rely on people, that are close to your family and friends, but rely on people that want to be relied on as well. Pick your support wisely, I think, at the minute, because a lot of people will say they'll do things and then don't do it, or stick to what you're trying to do. A lot of people, they'll say, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, and then they don't really put the effort into doing it, and then they don't, then they wonder why things don't work. And you almost need keep a little record, a little diary, a little feedback book, work out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and work out what success and happiness are for you, and work towards that. Don't work towards what other people view as success and happiness. And you might find that actually you are happy and you didn't even realise it. Contentment comes in all different forms and situations, and unless you know what it is, you're never going to find it.
Yeah, and I suppose that self-awareness is one of those things that you said earlier, wasn't it, of doing the journaling and finding those things and working out your own North Star, and
Yeah, absolutely.
heading in that direction, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Work on self-awareness. Self-awareness and emotional intelligence are undertaught. They need to be
yeah,
teaching it in primary school. They need to get rid of all this garbage they're doing, and they need to start teaching people how to be people. And that would be a great start and a great help, to be fair. And they need to, yeah, definitely, because a lot of people now, they're just lost with no direction. And I
yeah.
get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I think it gives people that sort of autonomy over their lives as well, to be able to say, actually, my values are this, or I'm not keen on that, or even something as simple as asking someone what their favourite colour is. Like, I work with people who might not even be able to answer that. And yeah, of course, you can change your mind and it might not be the same. But I think answering those sorts of questions about what you like and what you don't like can be a sign of, sort of self-confidence, or it can sort of be, actually, I don't want sugar in my tea,
Yeah,
rather than someone's put sugar in your tea and then you go, no, it's fine. Sort of just
yeah,
tolerate things. We often do, don't we? And
yeah,
I think there's nuances to that, but
yeah,
so
definitely.
just sort of, it feels like there's lots and lots of things that are so important for sort of people to bear in mind, and it feels like a really interesting conversation that lots of people are probably contributing to in their own sort of ways, and that Andy's Man Club probably has these conversations, and like people able to speak up about those things. So I'm curious, I suppose, because of the name of the podcast, and the reason why I called it A New Pace is that idea of whenever there's challenges, and for me as well as people that I'm working with, having to maybe take a different direction, pivot somehow, like slow down, speed up, take a new pace. And so I'm curious, what might that mean to you? We've got those elements of pause, act, create, empower. Some of those may be really relevant to you, more so than others. I'm just curious, do you have any thoughts on that, really, Mark?
I think pause is probably what most people need to do, to start with, especially if you're not, if you feel like you've not got what you want, or you're not where you need to be. I think a lot of people need to pause and put a lot of thought into what it is that they actually want. What is happiness? What is contentment? What's success for them?
Yeah,
Because until you stop and take stock of where you are, it's very difficult to create a new path of where you want to be. If all you've got is a destination but no starting point, then it's very difficult to craft each step of that journey. Right, I'm here. That's where I want to be. So what's next? What's my first step? What's my baby step? What direction do I go? And what if that doesn't work? Well, then where? What's my backup plan? How can I do it? What's available? These days, people have got all these, you've got your chat GPTs, you've got all this AI. Life is so easy now compared to 10 years ago. Creating new things. Creating things now, it's like everything's there done for you. So it's how can you invest in yourself? How can you pause, invest in yourself and work out where you want to go, what you want to do, and how you're going to do it. Because I can guarantee, with all the information and all the tools available now, online and with everything else, it's a lot easier to get where you want to be. And even if you don't get there, it's certainly a lot easier to be happier on that journey. A lot easier to be happier on that journey. And I think if people can pause and do that, what they'll find is they'll enjoy that journey a lot more, because you can't wait for your destination to be happy. But if you can create that, if you can find the happiness on the journey and those little wins and those baby steps, and if you can start enjoying the failures, and just seeing them as feedback and lessons, and that's where people can really create a lot of what they've got and what they want to be and what they want in life.
That is fantastic. It feels like in the midst of commenting on pause, you're creating those steps. Like, how does someone want to act? What is going to feel good? How do you create the life that you want, sort of thing? And rather than it being the end, like the destination being important, that is those steps along the journey. So a lot of this really resonates with me. So I love it. So is there anything you're sort of working towards now? Have you got any other challenges in mind, or are you going to do the Tour de Aki again next year? Because that's been going quite a long time.
I'll be doing the tour again. In fact, here's a great example from what I've just said. I'm doing the tour again next year. A couple of years ago, I set my own personal best speed around it, and we'd always said that it's not about speed and it's not about how fast you can get around it. But I'd done it a few times, 4 or 5 times, and I thought, right, I'm going to speak to Pierre and say, look, I have achieved so much personally with all the weight loss and everything. I want to see how fast I can get round. I'm going to stop and support, but I'm going to see what I can do. And he's like, yeah, do you know what? Go for it, see what you can do. I did it, and then I've done the swim. But to do the swim, I had to put on, I didn't have to, but I wanted to put on 2 stone in weight. I'd be more buoyant and more protected against the cold. And I went back to bike racing, and I am so slow. I got dropped by the fast group, then I got dropped by the not so fast group. So I have had to literally pause and go, right, my goal next year is to do the tour. I'm going to do the 106 mile bike ride. I want to at least be as good as I was last time. So that's my goal. But I now have to change my night that I go on the bike racing, from the fast night to the not so fast night. So I've had to kind of step back and go, right, I can't do that anymore. I've got to stay on top of where I am. Be aware that I am now heavy and slow on a bike. So I'm going to do that, and I should probably change my diet a little bit. I can't be as lackadaisical now, because I'm not trying to gain weight. I'm trying to lose weight. So I've gone online. I've gone on ChatGPT. I've got myself a diet printed out. I'm going to try and stick to that. And it's just so I can do this bike ride next year. But it's a great example of actually, I've got a target there. I've had to stop and think, right, scrap that off. I can't judge being happy based on being fast, because I'm not. So I failed at that. But I've not lost. I'm just going to get a little bit of feedback, change my ways, do this, gone online, got all the info I need, and now I'm just going to see where I get to. And at the end of next week, I'm going to review the diet, see if that's worked, see if I'm happy, see if I'm miserable, see if it's easy, see if it's caused my family problems because I've had to cook something different. And it's just about laying those steps down. Doesn't affect anyone but me. So then, yeah, we'll see how we go. So I'm quite looking forward to my new diet now.
Yeah,
See if I'm miserable on chicken and rice.
And broccoli.
And broccoli, oh, lots of broccoli. So much broccoli.
That's what people are always saying. It's like chicken, Bryce and broccoli. Yeah. But that's all about just having a new intention, isn't it? And what you said at the start, just as a way of sort of bringing this back, was that you said about sort of lowering your expectations, and these are huge things for people. So somebody's version of lowering their expectations might mean something completely different. And it reminds me of something that I heard a climber speak about this at like the outdoor show, the NAC ones. And she was saying about lower your expectations, but raise your intentions.
Yeah.
So, and that's probably about 5 years ago, and it just really stuck with me, this idea. And it can be having different expectations from other people, like letting go of expectations, but having such strong intentions that, and really knowing which direction you're going into, then that feels so important. And some people really struggle with that, so it's starting with that journaling, starting with all of that.
And baby steps.
Do that, baby steps.
Absolutely, yeah. Baby steps. And the thing is, what I like about it is it doesn't take long. You only need a week of entries and a week of kind of working on self-awareness and all that. And you so quickly realise, how you affect yourself. No one affects you more than you. Because you're in control of your own mind. It's your perception of the world and your mind's perception of what's happening that is, and you are in control of it, whether you believe it or not. You just are. And that was, I would say, that's the biggest thing for me that's enabled me to go off and do all these things. I couldn't have done these when I was 21, 22. I was an idiot. Well, I wasn't. I was living a great life. I was happy. But I couldn't have done anything. I couldn't have achieved all these things that, that I'm proud of. The self-awareness and emotional intelligence are the biggest things for me, big time. Yeah, definitely.
Right, thank you so much. Before we leave, do you have any other sort of just things to share, or anything that we've not mentioned and stuff?
No, I think we've covered a lot there, to be fair. My wife always says that I come across as arrogant, so I hope that didn't happen tonight. I am genuinely, if anybody wants any help, tips and advice on anything at all, I'm not telling you how to live your life. If you want to discuss anything further, or you've got any ideas or any help with anything that I've talked about tonight, just get in touch. I'm sure Leslie can put you in touch, and I am more than happy to spread my arrogant enthusiasm into the world. So yeah, I hope people have seen me as trying to be helpful than anything else, because I really am. I think there's a lot of problems in the world, and I think that if I can help one person not end up where Mick is, I will be very, very happy with that, and that's my intention. Nothing else.
Yeah, and that is far from arrogance, honestly. Like, I would never use the word arrogance with you, to be fair. But I do think about other people that might feel like that. But yeah, well, this has been brilliant, and so thank you so much, and thank you everybody for listening. I appreciate you taking your time to have a listen or to have a watch if you're watching it on YouTube or wherever you're seeing this. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.